Guys, it's Wednesday. So it's been a week. I said last week there was one thing I was definitely going to do before this episode, and that was to make sure that I had 2 rolling frames. It doesn't look like 2 rolling frames to me. So I have a little bit of work before we can even touch on what I'd like to touch on for this episode. So let me just get that out of the way real quick. Rocket, inside, go. Ahead. So it's this right here. I have it somewhere. I just have no idea where at the moment, so we'll move on. Alright, so now technically 2 rolling frames, I just can't roll it very far because the front wheel's not really held on by much. But satisfying, nonetheless. And now we can move on to what I really wanted to try and accomplish today, which is to dig into the CB750 engine a little bit. I spent a little bit too much of my Wednesday online looking for engine stands because with the 750 engines, it's pretty big. And it's kind of an awkward angle. And it would be really convenient to be able to bolt it up to something and then be able to flip it any way we want to go and all that kind of stuff. But we're not at reassembly yet anyway. So I have some time to try and figure out something like that or an ingenious solution for this particular engine. But what I'd like to do anyway is start pulling the engine apart again because a decision needs to be made. Let's go take a look. Although it is a complete engine, she's not pretty. She needs to be cleaned. And for many, many years now, I've wanted my own vapor blaster. And I have to debate now whether I just build my own vapor blaster or if I send the parts out to get cleaned. But to get to that point anyway, she needs to be disassembled again, and then I can show you guys a little bit. So the idea here is that Chelsea's not home, so we're going to make a work table out of the kitchen table temporarily, and we'll maybe just keep that between us. Okay, let's do that. So please just ignore the mess. Anything that you do see, we're in the middle of painting. But that's not motorcycle related content, so borrow the kitchen table. But we gotta protect it. Well, we gotta protect ourselves from the ramifications of not protecting it properly. Okay, so let's start breaking these down, and then we can separate this piece and bring it inside. Yeah, I just luckily this whole engine's coming apart because I just dropped one of those down into the crankcase. So we'll give it a listen. So what we have here, if you guys didn't know already, you've somehow missed it. So it's the CB750L. Reason it's an L is just a limited edition run of the CB750K of the same year. So it's basically the exact same bike, just like I think just different badges basically. Everything matches. I have the entire original engine, the original frame, the whole works. But the one thing that I haven't done yet on this one, everything's been torn apart. It basically at this point needs to be degreased and then cleaned so that it can be reassembled. The only thing that I haven't actually done is I've not pulled apart all the valves. One, I don't have the tool to pull valves. Now I know it's pretty straightforward to kind of retrofit a regular C-clamp or something similar to accomplish that, and that is my intention. It's just not something that I've done already. But what we have to do today is remove the cylinders from this case, or the header. And for some reason, it seems to be sticking on one side. So we're gonna see what we can do. Super, super important with anything like this, that the surfaces between the different sections, you really do your best not to mar in any way. I think the one that you can really get away with the most is this top one, because the header covers, number one, aren't under the same kind of pressure that your crankcase and cylinders would be under. And you typically have a big, thick, rubberized gasket that's intended to be reused a bunch of times. So as long as you don't over tighten things and you get it nice and snug, then you can have little nicks and scratches in this top section. It's not as big of a deal, but in any other section, it's the last thing you want because it will leak no matter what you want. Try to do. So if you're ever going to use any kind of prying, like anything to pry these parts apart, you don't want to be trying to kind of get it in between the actual two surfaces like that. You want to find some other sections that you can press up on between the two pieces. Keeping in mind that these wings, these flares on the like heat dissipating flares, I don't know what they're called for some reason. My brain's not working. They're particularly brittle, so you don't really want to be pushing too hard on those either. There we go. There we go. So all I did is I kind of put this here and then pushed up with my other thumb on the exhaust mounts so that it would go up evenly. And now, there we go. All right. Excellent. So, obviously, there is some work to be done. So, this is why the entire thing needs to be taken apart and properly cleaned. I know to date these Wrenching Wednesday episodes haven't been too in-depth, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I need to set things up so that I can make regular progress towards the projects. So the next steps for the CB750, to finish taking this apart and to actually retrofit a C-clamp so that I can pull all the valves out. So that's work that I need to do. And then once that's done, basically the entire engine can be disassembled again and then sent off to be cleaned. The debate really is, do I build my own vapor blaster, or do I find somebody that that has something, or they built one themselves and maybe I can rent time on it, or do I just suck it up and send these out to get cleaned professionally for, you know, like $300 or $400 to get all the parts done. So that's kind of the debate I'm sitting in right now. For $300 or $400 I can probably build my own vapor blaster, so it's tempting to just do that. I just don't know exactly where I would store it and where I would keep it and those kinds of things. So there's quite a few considerations that I have to take into account, and then I basically have to ask permission. So we'll see what happens. But I'm either going to disassemble the engine and then send it off to get cleaned properly, or we're going to create the vapor blaster ourselves and then we're going to clean all these parts. So, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, if you like the content on this channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and smash that like button down there. And if you can, share this content on social media. It really, really helps get the word out there. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you on the next video.